Uber, Bitcoin, self-driving cars. Combine those three together, and you have the self-owning taxi. A car that is a corporation that owns itself, pays for the car lease, the car insurance, and the gasoline from the revenues it makes, giving passengers a ride, and there's not a single human involved in that matter.
Currency, very important. Yes. And if you want to go to third world status, lose your reserve currency. We have to have that. We cannot lose it. If you'll go to third world status in this country, because you take a look at the way things are running. If a country tells me, sir, we like you very much, but we're going to no longer adhere to being in the reserve currency. We're not going to salute the dollar anymore. I'll say, that's okay. And you're going to pay a 100% tariff on everything you sell into the United States. And we love your product. I hope you sell a lot of it into the United States, but you're going to pay 100% tariff on everything you sell into the United States. And we love your product. I hope you sell a lot of it into the United States, but you're going to pay 100% tariff. He will then follow it up by saying, sir, it would be an honor to stay with the reserve currency. That will be like just playing. That's not even chess, that's checkers. But you don't have listen to this. You don't have other people that can talk that way.
Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? It looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
So first, just from a clarity perspective, the way options work is sort of like a nuclear launch thing, where you need a key to turn from the SEC and from the CFTC. What we've had so far is from the SEC, and we're waiting for the CFTC. My ultimate expectation is that will happen, and it will happen for multiple ETFs, not just BlackRock. But I actually really like the framing that you offered when you talked about we already have Deribit. A good way to think about the impact of ETF options is to imagine the world if we didn't have Deribit and we didn't have perps. Like, what would the Bitcoin world look like if we didn't have any derivative activity on it? It would be a fraction of the size it is today. There would be a fraction of the number of applications. And maybe it would be a little bit less volatile, to be honest, because people use that for speculative purposes. That's actually the right framing for what's happening in the traditional market, right? So now we have regulated futures on the CME and some regulated options activity, although it's relatively small. ETF options are traditionally very successful. Introducing options on ETFs into the ecosystem opens up this derivative space. What will it do? It will make the space more valuable. It will bring in more actors. It will further the financialization. And then at the extreme edges, like at the extreme edges of the volatility activity, our view at Bitwise is it can amplify volatility. In the median case, I think it reduces volatility because it provides hedging instruments. But it does create the possibility for these far out outcomes on extreme tail events where you can sort of play into yourself. But ultimately, it's a huge net good, right? If we want Bitcoin to be part of the normalized financial ecosystem and to be used as a macro asset by institutional investors, they need all the tools that they have for every other asset. A big tool is regulated options, and particularly on ETFs. That's what we're going to get. It's a positive signal, and I suspect we'll get it in the coming months.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we see Tesla's wireless charging. But guys, we know the technology has been there. We have streets that have wireless charging. While you're driving down the road, the car is charging. But we know this is a plan. They're going to bring this into phases. So therefore, they don't scare the people. Now we have options coming to these Bitcoin ETFs. And we know BlackRock, of course, is going to be the head, and it's going to bring a whole lot of volatility. Bitwise tried to play it down, but it's going to bring a whole lot of volatility because it opens up the casino. But remember the goal, and that's tokenizing these ETFs. Do not forget what Blackstone stated. The United States is going to go through a whole 10 years with no growth. That only makes sense if you understand the fourth industrial revolution and the metaverse, because you're going to have 60% of the population or more that will be out of work. So that means less money going into 401ks, less money going into Social Security. That's the reason why they're going to take all these trillions of dollars in debt and turn it over to equity and hand it to the people. Universal basic income. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And don't forget what the bank man was working on. Taking this $100 trillion derivatives market and putting it on blockchain, being ran by an algorithm, not a human involved, but we also know what happens at the end. You own nothing, but you will be happy. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And right before the election, the judge unseals court documents for Trump's 2020 election case, and that means the movies begin. We will see what type of hype this gets on social media and also television. Don't forget, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. And then we have the Fed on inflation, getting back to 2%. And right now, guys, the fluff that we do have, not getting down to 2%, is all about corporate greed. You have a handful of corporations that own everything and go by 1,000 different names that give you an illusion of choice. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
To the top of the hour, the unsealing of exhibits and evidence in the 2020 election interference case against Trump. Back with us, MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin. What have you seen?
Jose, a lot of what we've seen is stuff that's already been public, and that is not entirely surprising because the special counsel's office warned that they would be sealing and asking the court to redact much of what has not been public information, and specifically the contents of witness interviews and grand jury testimony. A lot of what we've seen so far are the former president's tweets, including data that seems to have come from Twitter itself, authenticating that these were, in fact, his tweets and retweets. The other thing that we're seeing some of is some information about how funding for the January 6th rally itself developed. That information, again, is not entirely new, but it's information that we're not accustomed to seeing and that will strike some people as new, in part because there has been so many months since the conclusion of those January 6 hearings. And so to see which organizations were involved in the planning of the rally, what they were being given money for, how much that rally cost in totality. It was estimated that it would cost about $3 million at the start. That lowered over time to about 2.5. But to see the planning for that rally in stark monetary terms, that's information that will strike some of the American public as new and somewhat surprising, Jose.
Lisa, why now? Why is this being released now?
Well, in part, it's being released now because the former president fought so hard against this case, necessitating briefing that came after the Supreme Court's immunity decision over the summer. Judge Chutkan had to make sense of that, and her determination about the best way forward was to ask the special counsel's office to submit a brief with exhibits. That's why we're seeing this at this late date, Jose.
What's your gut saying on how long it will take to get inflation down to the 2%?
So my gut hasn't done very well in the last couple of years.
Then you don't want to work with those kids going to the stock market.
That's why they were impressive. They would have done better than I did. But here's what I would say. I have to make an outlook. Every quarter we're asked to provide our assessment of where we think the economy is going to be at the end of this year, the end of next year, and the like. So in that outlook, I have us getting to target somewhere toward the end of 2025. So, and again, the inflation target, so getting back to something close to 2% by then. So that says that should be sort of the timetable for when we should get to neutral. Now, I don't expect it's going to be a straight line, right? So as you've been listening to the data, you know, things are slowing down, but then you get a pop in an unemployment report, or you get inflation that's showing that it's more persistent than people expected. So that choppiness says that we have to make sure that we're getting a true signal, because there's going to be a lot of noise around that. You know, I describe to people, when we were in school, remember when they said they'd do a plot and you'd have to chart the line? Almost none of the dots were on the line. That's what we're living in today. So we're going to get some dots that come above, some dots get below, and the job is going to be to make sure we still see the right line, and that line is going to where we want to go. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. I think to discern a line takes time. So I'm not in a rush to get anywhere. I want to make sure that we're seeing the right line so that our policy goes to the right place.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will. During that auction that we saw a little bit before, the attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy. And you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, It's Time to Re-Educate. Also, if new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.